MMC TV USA. Now on POTV Channel 100.
Hello there once again and welcome to MMC World Roundup, where we connect you with the latest news from Sri Lanka and around the world. Before we dive into the details, let's take a look at what's making headlines today. The Election Commission announced that it would call for the nominations to hold the presidential election. Sri Lanka will be among the first set of destinations to be served by Emirates A350 aircraft entering service in September 2024, the airline announced. It has been decided to restrict local pilgrims from climbing Sri Pada during the off-season. With the Chinese economy facing massive challenges, there have been concerns over its growth potential. Well, taking a look at your news in detail, the Election Commission announced that it would call for the nominations to hold the presidential election within the specified time frame in terms of the provisions of the Constitution and the Presidential Elections Act No. 15 of 1981. The Election Commission also said that by virtue of the powers vested in the Commission to fix the date for the election, it would hold the presidential election between 17 September and 16 October 2024. Sri Lanka will be among the first set of destinations to be served by Emirates A350 aircraft entering service in September 2024, the airline announced. Emirates' fourth daily service to Colombo EK654-655 will be served by the A350 from 1st January 2025. With 10 new A350s expected to join the Emirates fleet by 31st March 2025, the airline plans to deploy its latest aircraft type to 9 destinations in the coming months, offering customers its latest signature cabin experiences. These first 10 Emirates A350 aircrafts will offer 3 cabin classes with 32 next-generation business class seats, 21 seats in premium economy and 259 generously pitched economy class seats. All of these aircrafts are earmarked to serve short to medium haul cities on the Emirates network, with Bahrain as its inaugural destination. As the first Emirates A350s begin entering the fleet, the airline will offer customers more opportunities to experience its highly acclaimed premium economy product and sample its next-generation business class cabins for the first time, particularly on short and medium-haul routes in the Middle East and GCC, West Asia and Europe. Sri Lankans living overseas and unable to obtain dual citizenship due to the existing laws in the respective countries will soon be able to obtain a renewable permanent residence visa to live and work here, Immigration and Immigration Controller General Harsha Ilokpitia said. The regulations had been finalized and would soon be gazetted before the implementation of the scheme, he said. Those Sri Lankans whose citizenship has ceased after obtaining citizenship in another country, their non-Sri Lankan spouse and their children will be entitled to the residence visa. The person making the application will be required to pay $1,000 for the visa, while a non-Sri Lankan spouse and a child will be charged $400 each. The Controller General said the move came after several appeals from Sri Lankans residing overseas who had not been able to obtain dual citizenship due to the prevailing laws in the respective countries. He said the President granted approval for the scheme as it was in line with his policy of appealing to Sri Lankans living overseas to help in the development of the country. Mr. Ilukpitia said going by the current demand, they were expecting some 10,000 applications consisting of 3,000 families in the first year. The residents' visas will be issued for 10 years and renewed thereafter. The recipients will be able to gain employment, join the public service, engage in business and invest in Sri Lanka. The provisions for cancellation of the visas will also be gazetted. Sri Lanka's central bank is in discussions with the telecom regulator to tighten the reissue of mobile subscriber identification modules as part of efforts to stop mobile phone banking fraud. The central bank, together with banks, are tightening security on an ongoing basis as hackers and other fraudsters develop new ways to defraud customers. One such method is to reissue a mobile SIM of a mobile phone banking customer whose account number and telephone number is known to the fraudster by persuading a mobile phone agent to reissue a SIM claiming it has been lost without submitting an identity card in person. In late evening, a new chip is activated and the fraudster logs onto the account, issues a new password through a one-time password sent to the newly issued SIM and takes all the money out. The central bank is in discussions with the telecom regulator to get all operators to tighten the reissue of SIMs so that they cannot be issued to a person who is not the actual owner. Though existing rules also require the ID of the person to be produced, it happens without in the case of some operators due to lax phone agents who have been given authority to issue SIMs. Financial sources say when such events happen in the late night where the reactivation appears to be timed to when the customer is sleeping and is unlikely to find out that it has been deactivated, there could be collusion between the SIM issuing agent and the fraudster. Some banks use internet banking apps where password cannot be changed with just an OTP. It has been decided to restrict local pilgrims from climbing Sri Pada during the off-season. Consequently, all local pilgrims and travellers will be barred from accessing Sri Pada Reserve via any route. The Sri Pada pilgrimage season is set to conclude on 24th May 2024. In light of this, a special meeting was convened at the Nalathaniya Grama office under the guidance of the chief incumbent of Sri Pada, Venerable Bengamuye Dhammadina Thero, in order to inform government officials of forthcoming measures following the conclusion of the Sri Pada pilgrimage season. During the discussion, it has been decided to prohibit local pilgrims from climbing Sri Pada during this off-season. Accordingly, only foreigners will be permitted to undertake the pilgrimage during this period. The Meteorology Department continues to issue heat warnings to the public as a result of a heat wave sweeping across Asia, which is affecting hundreds of millions of people from India to Japan. Geology professor of the Peradeniya University, Atula Senaratne, yesterday said that research has shown that temperatures have increased in most parts of the country, with the heat exacerbated at least in part by human-caused climate change. Climate research has shown that sweltering heat has become a commonplace occurrence in many countries in Southeast Asia, he said. The Natural Hazards Early Warning Center stated on its heat index advisory issued at 4 p.m. on May 3rd, the temperature felt on the human body is expected to increase up to extreme caution level at some places in the northern, north central and eastern provinces, and that it is expected to increase up to caution level in some places in the western, Sabargamua, southern and northwestern provinces and in the Monoragala district. Professor Senaratne said the country is experiencing much higher than normal temperatures and the average minimum temperatures at households are at 35 degrees Celsius. People in Sri Lanka are experiencing an increase of 2 degrees of Celsius to 4 degrees Celsius in most parts of the island, said meteorology experts. The Meteorology Department has cautioned residents in the western, Sabargamua, southern and northwestern provinces and in the Monoragala district against exposure to high heat. as the heat can have threatening health impacts if it increases above 38 degrees Celsius. The Ministry of Health and Indigenous Medical Services have issued heat advisories, said a spokesman for the Meteorology Department. Two floating solar pilot projects implemented with the financial and technical assistance of the Republic of Korea and in partnership with the Ministry of Power and Energy and the Sustainable Energy Authority is nearing completion, Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said. The two projects of 1 megawatt each in Chandrika Vavar in Ambilipiti and Kiriban Vavar in Savanagala is constructed with a financial grant from the Korea Institute for Advancement of Technology of Korean Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy and implemented with the technical assistance and construction by Yushing Engineering Private Limited, Bosung Power Tech Company Limited and Soktra Company Limited. The two projects commenced in 2023 and will be completed by July 2024. A new circular has been issued regarding the leave approval of government officials who have left the country during the COVID-19 pandemic and failed to return due to the pandemic situation. The circular issued by the Secretary of Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government outlines the procedures for handling the leave of officials who were unable to report back to work on due dates as a result of the pandemic. It has instructed the secretaries to the ministries, provincial chief secretaries and department heads on arrangements to be followed in approving unpaid and paid leave for government officials who fail to report back on or before the scheduled date due to COVID-19, according to the Establishment Code. Furthermore, the Secretary of the Minister of Public Administration has ordered the issuance of resignation notices for all government officials who have not reported to work without formal leave approval. Japanese Foreign Affairs Minister Yoko Kamikawa, currently on a 2-day official visit to the country, yesterday said Japan intends to rapidly resume its existing yen loan projects in Sri Lanka. She was speaking at a joint media briefing alongside Foreign Minister Ali Sabri, PC, at the Foreign Affairs Ministry. She said Japan will resume all its yen loan projects in Sri Lanka after the Memorandum of Understanding on Debt Restructuring is signed and the government's intention to swiftly conclude a bilateral agreement. Japan is leading the international discussions on Sri Lanka's debt restructuring as the co-chair of the Official Creditor Committee. The funeral of Dr. Nalin De Silva was held in California, USA on May 5th. Arrangements have also been made to conduct a religious ceremony according to Buddhist rituals in Sri Lanka. Several national and international organizations led by the Mahasangha conducted the religious rites at the All Ceylon Buddhist Congress, Colombo 7 at 3 p.m. The ceremony was organized by the chief incumbent of the Dharmayathanaya Colombo 7, Venerable L.A. Gunavansatthera, and the chairman of the Chintane Prashadaya, Venerable Bengamuye Nalakathera. National leaders led by Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena also participated. Dr. De Silva was a distinguished figure in theoretical physics, philosophy and political analysis. He died on the 1st of May while visiting his son in the US. He was 79. With the Chinese economy facing massive challenges, there have been concerns over its growth potential, at least in the immediate future. Yet a key exception is emerging in the form of domestic tourism. Last week's 5-day public holiday to mark Labor Day saw 295 million trips made within China, according to figures from the Ministry of Culture and Tourism. This was 28% higher than pre-pandemic figures recorded in 2019. The Transport Ministry's figures are also staggering: 92 million rail trips, almost 10 million air trips, and 1.25 billion highway journeys. However, this comes as international arrivals continue to lag, with foreigners currently entering China at barely 30% of 2019 levels. The beautiful historical river town of Wuzhen, a short drive from Shanghai, is considered one of China's top visitor sites for travelers of all types. When we arrive, the little pathways and old bridges which cross narrow waterways are filled with visitors. One of Japan's most well-known bread brands is recalling thousands of packets and offering refunds after the remains of a rat was found in its products. Around 104,000 packs of sliced white bread made by Pasco Shikishima Corporation have been pulled from shelves. Parts of the black rat had been discovered in at least 2 packets. Pasco bread is a staple in many Japanese households and a ubiquitous presence in supermarkets and convenience stores across the country. There have been no reports thus far of anyone falling sick as a result, Pasco said in a statement earlier this week. The bread was produced at a factory in Tokyo whose assembly line has been suspended. Pasco did not say how the rat's remains ended up in its products, but it pledged to do our utmost to strengthen our quality control so that this will never happen again. The company has since published a form on its website for affected customers to apply for refunds online. Its products are also exported to the US, China, Australia, and Singapore, among other countries. Food recalls are rare in Japan, a country with famously high standards of sanitization. Well, that wraps up our news coverage for today. You can reach us on POTV, Samsung TV, LG TV, Apple TV, YouTube, and Facebook Live, reaching the entire United States and across the globe. Thank you so much for joining in with us today. And until next time, we wish you a wonderful week ahead.
To catch the full program and more, subscribe to MMC TV USA on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok